All right, YouTube. Many of you probably saw the Three Amigos Summit, as it's being called, or the Three Amigos discussions. Of course, the U.S., Canada, and Mexico sort of getting together and coming to mutual agreements on things. Our three nations form the bulk of the entire North American continent. The only continent more united is Australia, which is also a nation. So, other than the Aboriginal separatists or something like that, and maybe here Texas. I don't think there will be a Texit, by the way. I think that's pie in the sky nonsense from a very small group of people. It's like the secession movement here in Vermont. We also were an independent republic. A long, long time ago. Technically, in our Constitution, we can secede legally. Will it happen? No. It's just we didn't secede when Bush was president. We're never going to secede. Just like they've weathered it through Obama, they can survive, I'm sure. There was mention of a single trusted traveler program. The idea being that lawful people within these three nations would be able to travel more easily. You wouldn't need a bunch of paperwork and constant checks at the borders. I would like to point out, of course, between the Canada and U.S. anyway, the border is already only semi-guarded to begin with. You have visa-free travel anyway. Like, you can just fucking go across the border with a driver's license. No one really cares. The two cultures are so similar. It wouldn't even make sense, really, to force people to have a bunch of paperwork and go through a lot of rigmarole to travel, especially when there's a hell of a lot of tourism. Here in our state would put up a fuss, an enormous struggle if they tried to clamp down on the northern border, because so many people from Quebec actually come here as tourists, and so many Vermonters travel to Montreal really for the same reason. They go see the Biodome or whatever. And they go see some fucking baseball, because we don't really have much baseball in this state for the 10 fans that actually think that it's still a worthwhile game to go see. You know what I think about sports, I think, at this point. Some people are, of course, worried. I think some people, they see the video title, they probably think, oh, he's going to go full Trump at this point and say this is a crazy idea. I don't, actually. We're not talking about, people who intend to stay permanently. We're talking about tourism. If someone wants to come in illegally, there's already nothing stopping them. I happen to be a fan of the concept of building a wall along our southern border. Not mass deportation, but certainly building a fortified wall once and for all to stop the flow of illegal migrants into the country is a great idea. But if we're going to do that, there should be increased legal immigration. I have no problem with that. I see it as a good thing. As long as we're not getting a bunch of axe murderers and cartel members, I don't really give a fuck, number one. Number two, as far as tourism and so forth, I don't want to see, I guess, Mexicans inconvenienced if they want to come and visit the U.S. any more than I would want American citizens to be inconvenienced if they want to go down and party in Mexico or something like that. We already have it on our northern border. At this point, Mexico is more westernized, more, to you racial nationalists who care, more white at this point than many parts of Canada. You look at some place like, the urban settings of BC or Saskatoon or something. It's basically like China. And on the eastern part of Canada, it's basically like Arabia. It's basically UK 2.0 or Sweden 2.0. It's really becoming a problem in some of these areas where you've got the ghettoization of communities. You've got self-segregation among these ethnic minorities that don't want to assimilate. We have the same problem here. They have the same problem in Europe. The multiculturalism experiment has failed. It is now definitive. There's no debate anymore. But as long as you're going to have a continent that only really has three substantial nations on it, it makes no sense not to be on friendly terms. When they use the term three amigos, it's closer a relationship than you think. I know a lot of Americans don't understand this, but the bulk of illegal immigrants that have come from Latin America are not Mexicans. The bulk of them are from Central America and places like Colombia. I don't even really give a fuck about that either, to tell the truth. I understand a nation's not a nation without borders. I don't think mass deportation solves the problem without a wall, and I think that the wall does more than mass deportation does anyway. I happen not to like Obama or Trudeau, nor do I particularly like the Mexican government. The Mexican government's the most inept. They think that the solution to cartels is to go and kill cartel members. But keep in mind that the drug movements across these borders are essentially a free market gone underground and turned into a black market by our insane drug laws. So it will keep, I mean, there's nothing that's going to stop it. We need to ultimately, the three nations do need to get together and ameliorate the drug war. If only on marijuana, at least, it helps to a great extent. We can look at other options thereof later. Until that happens, though, there will be increasingly, I would think this would be a no-brainer, by the way. I'll just say this. It would be a no-brainer for Democrats to actually attempt to end the drug war or scale it back. And why do I say this? They're so worried about racial animosity or ethnic animosity or anti-immigrant sentiments along the southern border. And yet their own pro-drug war policies really are what is causing the crime associated with largely Hispanic cartels that are actually causing the racial problem in the first place, the ethnic problem in the first place. Get rid of the drug war, that's another issue that's solved. You've saved so much money, you no longer have overcrowded prisons, you no longer have the cartels, you have effectively solved in many of these border states the problem of ethnic animosity and self-segregation. You've solved so many problems just by ending this one bad policy. It's just like prohibition, only more expansive and far worse. And I would just say that for starters. Once that's solved, I think you'll find even a lot of moral traditionalists, even like cultural nationalists, which I'm sort of on the fringes of myself. I don't give a fucking shit if a bunch of Mexican people want to live in Texas or whatever. I don't give a fuck if they move into this neighborhood and live next door. I already lived in like a 99% Hispanic community when I was in Texas, and I had no problem with it. I never got randomly assaulted for being an Anglo dude or anything like that. I think that a lot of the problem is the cartels keep getting more and more strong because of the drug war. That's one part of the problem. The fact that most people perceive the border as completely understaffed and unguarded also doesn't help, because then it takes an extremely unpopular establishment sort of political machine and associates it with loose border control. It doesn't, if you want to quadruple legal immigration, nobody's going to care as long as there's a wall there to make sure it's properly controlled. As far as the Three Amigos talks go, and the concept that we should be able to sort of flow across the borders more freely and more easily and more quickly, as long as it involves people that are known to be lawful, and as long as you begin tackling the drug war so you don't have so much crime south of the border anyway, and on the fringes of the border on both sides especially, you're not going to have any problem with this, because you won't have nearly as many illegal immigrants trying to get in. A lot of these Central Americans, by the millions that have come here on the death trains through Mexico and been sort of shit out on the southern border by the Mexican authorities that themselves don't want to deal with them. A lot of them came because cartels have fucked with their home countries and they're so violent and impoverished because of the drug war we're waging here. I mean, the Democrats are fundamentally correct. It's just that they don't have an idea how to take care of it. They think the solution is, decriminalize pot and then have corporate weed. That's not going to help. No, you need to decriminalize all substances, number one, switch from prosecution to addiction treatment, number two, aid the Mexican government and try to lean on them to get them to do the same, to crush the cartels there as well, and you won't have this fucking problem. No, I don't have any ethnic spite for like Hispanics or anything. I enjoyed the food, I enjoyed the culture, I liked Texas quite a bit. So perhaps I'm a little bit biased. But when people say I don't have any experience, oh, you're all book learning, you never seen the wider world. I lived basically on the Mexican border. So I do know fundamentally what it's like down there. I never saw any significant problems myself. To me, it seemed rather calm, laid back. There were a lot of barbecues and margaritas, and that's really what it was about. That's about all. Peace out.